Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, really appreciate it. I hope everyone is well. Gratitude to anybody new. Shout out to all the subscribers. This video we're going to be talking about the art of speed, right? We're going to get a little bit geeky, a little bit scientific, and I'm going to do my best to explain to you what speed is, you know, how it comes about, how these world-class boxers, Moses the Talman, we're going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about Nonito Donaire in this video, plus a few other boxers as well, Terence Crawford. And we're going to get into basically not just the physical aspect of speed, which is obviously very important, but the mental aspect of speed. We're going to be talking about motor unit recruitment and muscle coordination, and also a little bit of the art at the end of this video as well. Let's go.
I'll take the fighter who's quick before I'll take the one who's fast.
Good right. Oh, there you go. Out of there. It's over with. That's some super. And there's no way the fight should continue. Drives him and hits it good. One of the things that makes him better. CCLJ knocked the jab down with his right hand, counter with a short 6-inch straight right hand, take the hook to the body and come back with his own hook to the head after he blocks Sullivan's hook to the head.
Okay, first of all, what is art? All right, there's been a lot of definitions over the years. There's not really exact one definition of art because it is very subjective, but let's go to the Oxford Dictionary's explanation of art, which is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as a painting or a sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. Now, that's a fairly generic answer. Yes, being creative and having imagination and you know, having a sculpture certainly fits that. But for me, you know, if you look at boxing and you look at fighters that, you know, counter punches that knock people out or have a creative moment like that, that to me is a piece of art.
Working well. Oh my! Look out! Darkinian down in terrible sequence all over. Spence. Back comes Crawford with the jab. Down goes Spence. How quickly that changed.
Oh, look at that speed! What a shot!
So what is speed, right? So there's two categories in speed, and I'm going to do my best to explain. I've been trying to study this, and it's a deep subject, so I'm going to bring in a couple of channels that I've been following, and I'll leave the full videos for them, and I'm going to, you know, include a few clips here on the way when I get maybe I might get a bit lost because there's so much information. But essentially, speed has got two categories: rate of force development, which I'll pull up this little graph right now so you can see, because there's each like 3 or 4 categories in each category, and then you have muscle coordination, and we're going to be talking about motor unit recruitment in the rate of force development, which is the mental part of, and that is mind-blowing. To me, I found that so fascinating. Muscle coordination, we're going to get into that as well. That is basically, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. How you coordinated your muscles are they tensing at the right time? You know, professional boxers at the highest level have such an amazing ability to, you know, make the punch seamlessly when it's like they tense initially to create that initial burst of energy, and then they're really loose and relaxed. And then goes through this phase of antagonist and agonist, which is like a pull, the muscles are doing. I'll pull up the clip because it's like he's explaining they stabilize each other basically, right?
It is done in cooperation with agonist and antagonist muscles. The agonists are the ones initiating the movement, while the antagonists are the ones opposing the movement and stabilizing it, therefore.
It's fascinating. So we're going to be talking about those two, but I want to start with Moses Itauma. If you don't know who he is a UK boxer. I'm going to be, you know, a little biased now. I'm from England, but no, he's a prodigy, and I've been watching a bit more of him lately, and like I'm just kind of blown away at how good this kid is. And he was sparring world champions, Lawrence Sicoli, when he was like coming home from school, going in his school uniform to spar world champions, and Lawrence Okoli said he couldn't believe it. So it was some of the best work he's ever had.
So I sparred Lawrence, but then there was like, I'm gonna use this as a rest round.
Yeah.
And like obviously because he's only a little kid, and then he said, he threw a jab and I slipped it, and then he said he was like, it must have been a mistake, whatnot. He threw another jab, I slipped it and I countered it, and he was like, bro, I didn't recover till the next round.
And Shane McGuigan, his trainer, who's a very well-renowned trainer in the UK, he couldn't believe it as well. There's been loads of stories, and Itama's been knocking everybody out, and with speed, which is why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to delve in and show what speed is. We're going to talk about Nonito Donaire as well, and I'm going to get a little bit closer, but I want to freeze frame Itama's last knockout and just give you an idea of the mental process that happens, right? Because it's kind of crazy. He makes it look easy, of course, but he's got a very fascinating style, really. He kind of drops his shoulder a little bit, goes into a mini Philly shell from time to time. He's very rhythmical, he's very loose, and he's looking to basically counter punch you as well, but he can be aggressive. I haven't seen full fights like that. This isn't a film study on him, but just the clips that I've seen, I'm like, wow, he's like very, very elusive defensively as well. But it's his offense when it comes to counter punching that is that window that you need, and you need speed for that. And he has power, but with power comes from speed, right? Power is force times velocity. The velocity is the speed part, right? So when you generate enough speed and leverage, that can ultimately bring more power, which is why he's been knocking so many people out, on top of the fact that they don't see the punches because he's so fast. Let's just freeze frame this moment here. I'll try and pull up the clip that I was looking at earlier, and we're going to talk about motor unit recruitment, where it basically starts in the mind. Right now, quickness is in the mind, and Virgil Hunter said this, and it really stuck with me years ago, and I'll try and pull up the clip.
I'll take the fighter who's quick before I'll take the one who's fast, right? Because speed is in the body and quickness is in the mind.
Quickness is in the mind, and speed is in the physical movement, but the quickness starts with the motor unit recruitment, where it is your brain sending nerve signals, right, to the muscles, right? You actually have to recruit certain muscles. This is how fascinating it is.
So you can see here the brain is going to send a signal through a nerve, so usually through the spinal cord, and then through a nerve to a muscle. Now if you see here, guys, this muscle is representing multiple types of muscle fibers. So you can see the red muscle fibers and the green muscle fibers in there. They would make up the entire muscle.
So your mind, in this split second, in this moment, Moses Itama's sat there before he's thrown his punch, and he's because you have a decision to generate more power or more speed if you want, but that's the motor unit recruitment that does happen before you do that. You have to exert how much you want to put in. But here's the crazy thing is, and not crazy, but obviously recruiting a different higher type of muscle fibers is going to be more draining.
If all the type 2As are recruited, we still need more force, then we go to our type 2X fibers. They're the hardest to recruit, and they fatigue the most quickly.
Which is why speed and power are massively advantageous for fighters. Obviously they can be the deciding factor in many fights, but they can also deplete your energy if you don't know how to use them properly, or if you overuse them, right? Because recruiting the higher type 2X, I think they are, muscle fibers takes a lot more energy from you. So, but in this freeze frame out here, like before he's even thrown his punch, the processing that goes on that happens from his brain to the nerves that travel through to his muscles, recruiting the fibers, right? He's like, I've got to summon these fibers to then be able to be perfectly, beautifully balanced, right? To understand the position he's in, the moving target, right? The accuracy, then the muscle coordination, which we talked about, the agonist and antagonist, pulling from the bicep and pulling, pushing from the bicep and pulling from the tricep, I think it is, to stabilize it, right? Which, you know, he's perfectly loose, but you got to be tense as well. You got to tense up and then be loose and then tense up at the point of impact. And he just makes it look easy, you know? And this is like, you know, a scratch on the surface of what speed is. And this is like, you know, to me it's an art as well, because it is so beautiful and it's so you know, there's imagination and creativity involved in there. You know, in the split second when you have that window, you don't have hardly any time to process it unless you've developed that pattern from before. You know, like high level fighters, a pattern recognition where they'll see fighters doing the same thing and then they'll see it beforehand and then they can execute it. But sometimes, you know, a lot of times, counter punchers will just have a split second for that window and just be able to perform all those things I mentioned to you and more, and execute it at the highest level in front of thousands of people or millions of people watching on TV. It is incredible. I've always said for the longest time, and I will continue to say it, boxers, all the boxers are professional, especially the ones at the highest level, are superhuman beings, and we should take our hat off to them all. What they do and what they go through and what they're capable of doing is absolutely unbelievable. And when you delve into more stuff like this, like the scientific side of speed and power, which I'm going to bring more to, you know, this channel is a bit of a weird channel, I'll be honest. It's, I just try to, you know, the more the videos I'm making, I'm just bringing the closest piece of my heart to boxing in an artistic, scientific fashion. So, you know, I'm not so concerned about, you know, following the crowd and stuff like that. I'm just doing my own thing, and eventually it'll work out, hopefully. But, you know, I've got another channel as well, which is why I've been a bit you know, a bit behind on this one, because I've been doing a tutorial channel, which I've been putting a lot of energy in. If you want to learn boxing and you want to learn a bit more about the you know, it's for beginners, but you know, I tap into some high level punching and striking, which is my passion. Come on over, I'll leave the link up here, I'll leave the link in the description. But you know, I've been doing that a lot, so I haven't put in as much love. But the projects I've got coming up on this channel I've spoken about before. I'll be covering the zoo Fondora fight, and I'm going to put some music behind that. I've got every video I'm going to do now is going to be music and art orientated, science as well, but you know, I don't know exactly. Like tomorrow I'm going to try to, tomorrow or Saturday or this weekend, I'm going to do a little Subriel Matias training breakdown, right? Because he's been seen doing this training clips, which is plyometrics, and I wanted to talk about it because it could play a part in his fight with Puello, because plyometrics is actually from like the 1960s. The Soviet Union actually created that, and it's basically a very good way to get more explosive power. And there's like something called a stretch shortening cycle, which happens in the springiness of your legs. So I'm going to do a bit more research before I delve in too much of that. But you know, they're going to have themes, all these paintings. Basically, the videos that for me are going to be paintings, and this is a gallery. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I kind of rambled a little bit. Hopefully I didn't get too much of it wrong, because you know, it's a deep subject, and I try to be respectful when talking about this stuff. So I'll bring in, and I'll leave those two channels that I clipped in here below. Go and check them out, because they are very fascinating. And you know, that's it. And then I'm going to leave some music at the end, because I'm doing a Dillian White, Moses Italma Dillian White. It's not really, it's a breakdown, but I'm going to talk about art. I've got to make a UK grime track for that. I have to. I was going to make a dancehall beat for it, because you know, Dillian White's Jamaican, and I've got the track's going to be called not the track. The video is going to be called Massacre, because it could get massacred by Moses Italma, and Massacre's a dancehall artist, so I wanted to tie it in, and maybe I'll do that. But if I can find a UK grime beat or a drill beat, maybe I'll do that. But that's the energy I'm going with, because it's just something I love, you know. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. It's got to come from here. And if you really enjoyed it, smash the subscribe button. I'll do my best to put out more content. I really will, because I blink my eyes, I look around, and it's like, you know, 10 days have gone by and I haven't made a video, and I'm like, I can't believe it. So anyway, that is it from me. Grateful as always. Have a lovely weekend. If you do, peace, love, I'm out.
I'll take the fighter who's quick before I'll take the one who's fast.
Boxing.